This is Yin, and these are conversations about discipline, direction, and identity, and how they quietly shape who you become. If you care about moving through life with intention, you're in the right place. If you're not there yet, but you want to be, stay. But if you're looking for shortcuts, noise, or motivation without responsibility, this isn't for you, and that's by design. Now, for those of you who are still here, this is where the work begins. Over the last few weeks, we've been building a foundation, and that's led us here to a very important question. Are you ready? That question is, can you look yourself in the mirror and trust what you see? Not your potential, not who you could become. Can you trust yourself right now to do what you say you'll do when the moment comes? Because here's what I've seen. Most people don't have an execution problem. They have a decision problem. They freeze when the opportunities show up. They hesitate when it's time to move. And they overthink when clarity requires action. Not because they don't know what to do, but because they don't trust themselves to handle what comes next. So, in today's conversation, we're going to explore what self-trust actually means. Think about someone you trust completely. When they say they'll do something, you don't question it. You just know because their word is binding. Now ask yourself, are you that person for yourself? When an opportunity shows up, something real, something that requires you to move, do you trust yourself to execute? Or do you start collecting opinions, looking for validation, or waiting to feel more ready? When you make a decision, a real one, not a plan, do you trust yourself to handle the outcome? Or are you already building an escape route before you even start? Here's what self-trust actually is. It's the certainty that you'll handle whatever arrives. Not that everything will work out, not that you'll succeed, but you'll handle it. You'll adapt. You'll figure it out. You'll stay in it long enough to see what's on the other side. Most people don't have that certainty, so they don't move. They wait. They plan. They prepare. They convince themselves they're being strategic, when really they're just avoiding the moment. There's a difference between believing you're capable and trusting yourself to execute. Capability is potential. Everyone has potential. Everyone believes they could do great things if the conditions were right. But self-trust, that's different. Self-trust is knowing without question that when you commit to something, it happens. Not because you're disciplined, not because you're motivated, because your word to yourself is real. And that changes everything. Think about the decision you've been avoiding, the risk you've been analyzing for months, the opportunity you keep saying you're not ready for, the move you know you need to make but haven't. What is actually stopping you? It's not the risk. It's that you don't trust yourself to handle the risk. You don't trust yourself to execute if it gets hard. You don't trust yourself to stay committed when the novelty wears off. You don't trust yourself to be okay if it doesn't work out. So you stay stuck. Not because you can't do it, because you don't believe you will. So what becomes possible when you actually trust yourself? Well, you can make decisions without needing everyone's input because you can trust your judgment. You trust that even if you're wrong, you'll handle it. You can commit fully. No hedging, no backup plans. Your primary plan is your only plan. You go all in because you trust yourself to see it through. You can take calculated risk, not reckless ones, but real ones, because you're not afraid of the outcome. You trust yourself to navigate whatever comes. You stop waiting to feel ready because you trust yourself to figure it out as you go. That's what self-trust unlocks. The ability to move when the moment comes. You see, most people miss their moments, not because they're not capable, but because when the opportunity shows up, they freeze, they overthink, They collect more data. They ask one more person what they think. And by the time they're ready, the moment's gone. But when you trust yourself, you move, not impulsively, not recklessly, but decisively, because you know that whatever happens, you'll handle it. But here's what most people won't admit. The reasons we don't trust ourselves is because we've given ourselves reasons not to. Every time we said we would do something and didn't, we taught ourselves a lesson. My word doesn't mean anything. Every time you committed to something and quit when it was uncomfortable, you reinforced it. I can't rely on myself. Every time you made a decision and second guessed it until you talked yourself out, you proved it. I don't trust my own judgment. So when something real shows up, when it's time to move, your track record speaks louder than your potential, and you hesitate. Not because you don't know what to do, but because you don't trust yourself to do it. I want to pause here for a moment. You see, at some point in our lives, there comes an inflection point, a moment whether we will become who we are meant to be or stay who we are. And it usually begins with an internal shift from can I to I will. The reason that most of us don't go after what we truly want because we are too worried about the opinions of others. We're too worried about what our parents may think, what our friends may think, what the world may think. However, they don't live our lives. Those who have been truly successful in this life did it trusting themselves, going out on a limb and just doing it, not for the opinions of others, but for themselves. And this is even true for myself. I didn't listen to my parents when I started my business. I didn't listen to my parents when I started this podcast. I just did it. No opinions, just outcomes. And I'll live with the outcomes of those decisions. Why? Because I trust myself. I trust myself more than I trust anyone else. You have to become someone you can trust, or you cannot become who you are meant to become. Back to our conversation. How do you become someone you can actually trust? Well, you stop breaking promises to yourself. Sounds simple, right? But think about what it actually means. If you're not going to do it, don't say you will, even to yourself, especially to yourself. And when you do commit to something, do it, even if it's small. Because it's not about being impressive. It's about doing the thing you said you would do. If you've been avoiding a call, you make the call. If you've set boundaries for yourself, you keep those boundaries. Commit to finishing what you started. Just do it. Not for anyone else, but for proof. Because self-trust isn't built through big moments. It's built through small, private decisions where you prove to yourself that your word is binding. Every kept promise is evidence. Every broken one erodes the only foundation that actually matters, your ability to trust yourself when it counts. So, your challenge for this week is to examine one decision that you've been avoiding. Not a small one, a real one. Something you've been overthinking. Something you've been collecting opinions about. Something you keep saying you need more time to figure out. Ask yourself, what am I actually waiting for? Am I waiting for more information? Or am I waiting to trust myself enough to handle the outcome? Because here's the truth. You already know what you need to do. You're just not sure if you trust yourself to do it. So this week, make the decision, not the plan, the decision. Then trust yourself to handle what comes next. Everything we've built over the last few weeks in these conversations, discipline, direction, identity, consistency, restraint, it all assumes one thing, that you'll trust yourself enough to move when the moment comes. Remember the question, can you trust yourself when you look in the mirror? Right now, today, Can you trust yourself enough to execute when it matters? Because if you can't, nothing else we talk about matters. But if you can, everything changes. This is yin. If this resonated, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Not everyone, just someone who's ready. You can find Yin Worldwide Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And if you want to go deeper, visit our website at www.liveyin.com. That's www.liveyin.com. Subscribe if you're committed to the work. If not, that's fine too. This isn't for everyone. Remember, move with intention.